I'm back. Uh, I'm back on my morning this morning. Yesterday I was in the afternoon. Sorry that it's not a set time, but I have to work around many other schedules that I have to be able to be in here. But I'm in sharing my cards, so um, I want to just make sure I am up and live everywhere. I am on Facebook. Schedules that I have. I'm on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. My broadcasting system is able to broadcast through both. I use BeLive TV to do my broadcasting. So, good morning, Lisa. I just making sure I was on. I'm like, I'm waiting to see if I can get a comment, but I now see the little eyes up there tells me that there's people watching as well. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Thank you for being with me. Today, we are once again talking about my deck of oracle cards, the Everyday Goddess Oracles that are, it's impeccable for you? Yes, perfect. Good morning, Franz. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, everyone who's joining in. And so, good morning, Paula. And so this is my deck of oracle cards that is being created by me. For anyone new, for everyone comes every morning, they're like, she's repeating the same story. Not once we get going in the beginning, because we never know. We always have new people who's joining, who's watching this, who's watching it later. It's amazing the people that message later in the day. And so this deck of oracle cards is being created from my heart with love of my journey, through my journey, but also through the eyes of those I've met and those that enter into my life, and through the More Than Existing program, and through my journey throughout life. And so these are from the shadows. It's about moving beyond that. Even in our darkest days, our lowest moments, there's still beauty. And so some people say, well, how come you didn't create the more dark looking? Like most shadow work cards are kind of dark looking. I'm like, because even our shadow is not dark. Our shadow is fear and insecurity. It don't mean that it's dark. It means that it's got fear and insecurity, and we're not being our true self when we're thinking from that place, or when we're functioning from that place. And so, good morning, good morning, good morning, Angie, because so we're letting people just come in a little bit before I fully start. And I'm going to bring up our card of the day. If you're new, you can see the box cover behind us. The card on the other side of the wall that's in the poster, she's to come. So the deck of cards is split and broken down. I wanted to change the decks this morning into the new deck. So the decks of cards are broken down into Maiden, Mother, and Crone energy. We have 3 different energies that come with this. It is the different phases. It is the journey of awakening, of awareness, of understanding. As we, I'm like, you can be the smartest, knowledgeable human on earth, but if you don't allow the wisdom of the universal wisdom, that innate ability to guide us through life, then we truly start to think that we know it all. And there's a big difference in knowing it all and being all-knowing. And when we allow the all-knowing energy to guide us, to teach us, that's when healing happens. And we don't get to heal without recognizing the places where we're not embodying our light, or when we're trying to force life, or we're trying to force people to fit into our lives, or we're holding on to our pain stories, or we're living in the past, or when our decisions, our choices and decisions, our actions or reactions are affecting those that are around us, like our children, like the people in our lives, those type of things. And then we create the illusions of our reality of, no, it's not like that. It's nothing I'm doing. What I'm doing is not affecting so-and-so. What I'm doing is not affecting my life. No matter what, it's like we try to move beyond that. So this is the acceptance, when we can learn to accept. Yes, it is me. I'm the one doing this to myself. And so our beautiful card this morning that I'm going to bring up, she is in, I believe she is the first card that switches over to mother, to the mother energy. I think she's the first card that switches over to mother energy. And she's, did I do enough? Am I being enough? When you step into those new roles of being the early stages of motherhood, and, you got to create the image of that you're perfecting this, you got it right. And I'm like, yeah, no, I never had that image. Because I definitely didn't get it all right, because I didn't know. And so this beautiful card is Smoke and Mirrors. And this is Mayra. Mayra is her name. And I pronounce her Mayra. That's how she told me in my sleep The names came between myself and two of my amazing level 4 students of More Than Existing, Lindsay Burt and Michelle Gibson, who are both also in all of my mediumship, all of my angel courses. They've taken all of those levels and advanced in so many places. So they came and sat with me. And when I was putting names on the cards, and we start to get these names, and we didn't know why the names. So Mayra, when she came to me, was fair complexion. And I start to laugh and I'm like, fair complexion, the smoke and mirrors, right? As you look in the mirror, people look at my reflection and they assume that, they assume they know who I am. And if I say I'm Aboriginal, they're like, yeah, right. She's too white. She's too white to be that. She's too this. And so there was a lot of hurt stories and a lot of pain stories that follows through that you cover up, that you put you put your guard, you put your armor on before you go out, and it's like, that doesn't bother me, that doesn't hurt. But you also create a lot of stories. So we create a lot of stories around our lives of who we think we are and how we pretend. And so our mirrors, when we look in the mirrors and we let our eyes see, it doesn't mean we're seeing our truth. So when you look at somebody and you assume and you create a story of somebody that you believe to be true based on, even if you think you know them, that you don't really know them, or you don't really know the truth of people. We really don't. We know what we know by what people share, by what people show us. And so I spent years defending the fact that, I'm a fair looking woman, but you should see my brother, you should see my mom, you should see the other side of the family. Like, we actually were. I was darker. I have natural dark hair. Do you want me to show you? And I used to defend that. And I'm like, when you stop defending that, when you stop trying to filter it through, when you stop filtering your words, it is what it is. Listen, I'm half white, I'm half Aboriginal. That's a truth. I live with it. It's like, and so you can believe it or not. I don't care. I don't have to convince people. So the fair complexion is her name, but it's also truly about, also about not being a follower. When you say, oh, I want to be a leader, or I'm a leader, but you're following out of fear, the fear stories of what you have been told, or what you're still believing to be true. So when you're letting somebody else's judgment of you or somebody else's criticism of you lead the way of you, stand in front of you, be the image, the character that you play out of protection, then you're a follower. You're a follower to your pain story. You're a follower to your misery. You're a follower to the criticism. You truly are. And you're losing the sense, and you're not powering up, you're powering down. And when we look at life and the world in the way that we live it, is that when we keep trying to operate from, say, being someone who strives to get ahead, but our basis, our operating system of us, where we're programmed from, conditioned from, is survival, then here you are trying to get ahead with an unhealthy sense of survival, and then it becomes that fight or flight, or fight back, or just kind of push through life. It's not in equal balance. And so our power is that embodying the light of being a leader, embodying the light of why you are following the stories of somebody else that are not true. So the untrue story that somebody else says to you, and you follow it and you fall into it and you try to be anything but that, or you try to change that. You say you're not believing it, but you're actually believing it. If you weren't believing it, it wouldn't have an impact upon you. You wouldn't be reacting and responding in the ways that you are if it really wasn't having an impact upon you. And that's a truth, right? So those are things that when you start to be able to call yourself out, when you call yourself out on your own bullshit, when you call yourself out and you can stand in the mirror with such truth and say, what I'm seeing is not always true. There's such a truth. So when you can allow what we call your third eye, when you can close your eyes and you can still stand there and you can see you, what it means is that you can feel you. So see that heart in front of her, that purple heart. That's your third eye vision. So that third eye vision, when you can let your third eye vision see you, what you're doing is you're actually feeling for you. When you feel for you, you see you. And that's how, when you can feel for something, then you see it. When you can have every bit of compassion that you would have for somebody else, now you have it for you. And that's how we start to be able to move forward and step into our truth, start to be able to walk in our truth, start to be able to show up. From your third eye, can you feel for you? When you learn to feel for you, you learn to stop defending you. You learn to stop justifying. You learn to stop trying to, you stop trying to please the critics. Right. And I always say, it's like, you wait for the critic. You put out these books, you put out these cards, and then you get the nitpicks of little critics. And it's like, okay, well, you're so critical. Have you ever written a book? Have you ever done this work? Have you ever been on live? Have you ever created cards? Have you ever took a canvas and created a life, like on paper, on a canvas? Have you ever painted? But we're so quick to be judgmental and pick apart things, because that is the parts of us that are living in the smoke and mirrors, because we will go to the negative before we go to the positive, because negative thoughts are automatic. There's such a sense of going to the automatic. We are conditioned to believe until we start to uncondition into the truth. When we get honest with ourselves, when we tell the stories of our past, of saying, so your pain, your misery, your hurt, and that it came from influences or impacts of watching or witnessing arguments, fights, bullying, judgment, all those things. But over the years, people would say to you, well, it really wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that way. They were just kids. It didn't mean it, da da da. And so you start to justify all of that to yourself, and you start to tell yourself, well, it really wasn't that bad. But when you look back and you go, it really was that freaking bad. And I'm now covering up the truth of all of this, but it's through the eyes of the child. So I can feel for me and I can have compassion and say, it was bad. It was bullying. It was hurtful. It was painful. It was wrong. It was not right, even if it's your own siblings, to mistreat you. It wasn't right that your parents, were constantly drunk in a house. It wasn't right that, whatever it is, I'm just giving comparisons to stories. It wasn't right that the teacher allowed other kids to bully each other. It wasn't right that nobody stopped that. It wasn't right. But it doesn't mean that it gets to be the leader of your life, because by you constantly trying to create and live in a character and a reality based on being the whole world now being responsible, means that you are not being a leader. Even though you're being an activist for everything and you're fighting for everything, is that you're really not leading your life with truth. You're still following the patterns, you're following the behaviors, you're following the fear stories, you're following all of those things that keep you from being able to be the leader of your life. It is when you choose that is no longer how I'm not going to live my life trying to repair and fix the past. I'm going to live in the truth of, through all of that experience, I was still this beautiful light. I was still this. I was still that. And then you start to see through your third eye that when you feel for you, you start to have compassion for you. When you have compassion, you have a feeling, a sense, is that you start to feel a sense of the bliss, start to feel the embodiment of wanting to look beyond your own words, to wanting to look beyond, why am I so critical of myself? Why do I look in the mirror and pick out my flaws? Why do I look in the mirror and prep myself and say, okay, breathe, breathe, breathe now, get out into the world? So I used to spend, when I was in my lowest, I want to say I used to spend at least a half hour sitting in my driveway, in my truck, in my big ass beautiful truck that I had. And I had this nice big truck. I had a beautiful home. I had everything that would have been the image of in the material world that would matter to say you had a good life, right? And I would sit in my vehicle and I would sit behind the wheel, and I found myself crying my eyes out. And then I would breathe it back. And I would take the breath. I'd fix my mascara. I'd put my lip gloss back on, fix my cheeks, put the hair back, take the breath, puff up my chest, and I would go be strong. I'd put the smile on my face, and I would believe the truth that any other mistreatment of me, that or my salon or my people, or that I would read in criticism on Facebook, it's like, that's all okay. Everybody can do that. That's okay. I don't, it's not okay to defend yourself. You're not supposed to, but it's okay. It's not bothering me. It's not bothering me. But just keep going. Just keep going. Just put the face on. Just be that person. And every single morning, that's how I would power up. So what was I following? Was I really being the leader that I was projecting to the world at that time? And at the end of the day, I would just wait for the last person to leave, for me to get back in that truck. So I would sit behind our salon, and I would sit in my truck, and no matter how cold it was or how warm it was, and I would crumble again, and I would fall apart. And then I would prepare myself to go into the next place where I have to wear my armor, my next place. Put it back on, Corey, put it back on. That's leading a smoke and mirrors life. Until the day I decided I couldn't do that no more. And then there was a real problem, because she's fucking crazy. Look, she's crying. She's not so happy. She's standing up to people. She's speaking the truth. Like, oh my God, there's something wrong with her. She's weird. We need to get rid of her. And so that energy, right? But that's when I was starting to becoming the leader of my truth. That was when I was following the light. That's when you're starting to power up. That's when you stop defending. You stop having to be defensive, and you start defending your truth when you're not defensive, when you're not offended by everything, when you stop trying to explain to the critics of that I'm a good person. I need to explain that. When you stop doing those things, your life start to change. So as I said, you're watching the unfolding of these cards, because they're changing from day to day. There's changes that happens in these cards. And if you look at the beautiful cat, you see this beautiful cat, there's always this feline energy. And we connect that feline energy, that female cat, to she don't give a shit. She does her own thing. She's got her own power. Look into the eyes of the cat. Can you strut with confidence like the cat? And how many people try to take that away from a cat? She's not, she don't want to be stuck in. She wants to go explore her world. She wants to be bigger than that. So when you can see through that feline energy, that prance, that power to walk with confidence, to be, and then you see her red dress. So she has a passion. She has a desire. She has a passion to be seen as her truth. She has a passion. And this is whether you're feminine, you're masculine, however you define yourself, it doesn't matter. It's about finding the truth, that when you allow yourself to know that there's so much more than the material world that is defining you. Right? Yeah. You don't have to defend yourself anywhere, right? And so you can defend, but you can defend your truths. You can defend by standing in your light. And by defend, I don't mean go to the world and have to defend that way. I mean by making a choice to choose to walk in your light, to be you. This is me allowing myself to defend all of me by saying, this is all mine, and I'm Angela. And I'm going to create all of my world, and I'm going to live in all my world, and I'm going to be this. You're welcome to come into my world, and you're welcome to stay out of my world. It's up to you, right? And that's the truth. When you feel that power, when you walk in that power. And so you see the blues, you see the purples, you see those pinks, you see the yellows, you see the sparkle. And it's like, there's so much magic that is happening right in that one card. But when you keep looking for the macro, when you keep looking for the big picture, the big world to show you power, to show you love and light, you got to stop looking big. Because you got to start looking at all of the little small things that provide that. The little animals in our house. I mean, the most loving little creature, the most unjudgmental thing it's a dog sitting on the chair today. There's a dog sitting on a chair today, not a cat sitting on a chair. And those little creatures, those little things. And, there's so much things that are provided to us to show us our truth, to show us the love, to show us the light, that there's just so much beauty. Right, friends? You feel it. Lisa, love your diamond. Essence is no longer hiding behind the smoke and mirrors, but instead displayed predominantly over your heart on today's shirt. More than existing has such an amazing journey, especially when guided by a teacher with such authenticity. Ah, thank you, Lisa. I so appreciate that. And yes, I am. Never thought of that, Lisa. It has a little bit of everything right there on me today. And it's true. And yes, and more than existing is, and Lisa is um, a huge part of more than existing. She is in level 4. She owns Loving Energy Recharge. A she's a partner into the School of Corey School of Magic. We share that platform in such big ways, and she's also the editor of the books and the stories. And when you can learn to what leading your life is, and not being behind the smoke and mirrors, is that you don't have to create a big story to describe yourself. You don't have to have a great big mission statement. You don't have to have big words, because that was a big part of why I didn't speak for a while, is because I lost a lot of my words in the neurological thing. Was there was a lot of my words that started to disappear because I couldn't comprehend, like it wouldn't come from here to here. I would know it in my head, but I couldn't they will not come out. So I'm like, just be creative, Corey. Just allow the words to come. So when you allow yourself to be able to look from your third eye, to live from your heart, to live from the parts of you that allow you to feel, and to allow you to have to look deeper, to look further. The eyes isn't automatic, right? So it's like the thought. You got that automatic connection. Oh, I see this. But what do you see beyond that? Oh, I see my skin. Oh, I see my hair. Oh, I see my wrinkle. Or I see this. Well, what do you see beyond that wrinkle? What do you see beyond that skin? What do you see beyond that hair? What do you see beyond the chest of you? What do you see beyond? And when you can learn to look deeper, when you can learn to look beyond, then you're honestly starting to be able to see your truth. When you can see your truth, you can see you. So this beautiful one is when you look at her, and one of the girls wrote this down. I think it was Michelle wrote this down. She said, "So if you change the image of the picture, is she just a woman? Is she a witch? And is that a lion? Right? Is that cat a lion? So in that spirit of that animal, does that animal feel like she's really small? Is she a little cat, or is she a big ferocious lion? What is she?" Like, it's like when you watch the commercial, when you see the cat go from being this wild cat in the wild, and then when she prances for the treats, when they shake the treats and she comes back home, is that she's this little cat, right? So in her dreams, what is she dreaming of being? How much bigger? It's like, so there's that. Is she the witch? Is she, what is she? And so she gets to create that. So stepping into your reality, stepping into your truth, and so that whole sense of, when you look beyond the terms and the stories we've been told over the years, is that, there's a deeper meaning to them. And it doesn't mean that everything that we're claiming and owning in our reality is that everything is going to go our way. Is that we're stopping fulfilling the want desire and starting to trust the need desire a little bit more. And so it's not about, when I first started this card, I had wrote about her I wrote about her, the reflection of identity and what we're putting out there. And it is not about pretending. It's not about the prettiest or being the best. It is about the journey of the journey to realness, the journey of being real. Where today are you dressing up and hiding from your heart the truth you truly want the world to see? You are here to let your heart shine and glow. That's how we find joy. Joy is created. Joy is created in moments of when your heart is out leading the way in front, and not masked and hidden with shame. That is called fear. And fear, acronym fear, capital FEAR, causes the hurt. It is the best of you that the world is truly waiting to see. The best of you is the truth of you. And that is the part that you have the most desire to reflect when you move beyond the words, the thoughts of others. And that was part of the card, and that's where she came from. So this is This one is beautifully lit up. She is glowing. She is shining. And she can be whatever she wants to be, right? When we move beyond, when we start to step into our reality, into our truth. So now I'm going to validate. Yes. It depends on the question to the cards or what you want to with the cards. Exactly. So the cards will have attitude. And like I said, the cards are to be the reflection. So for me, this was what I felt with the cards as they were being created. And so this is why the book will have something that really allows you to question yourself. Right? A witch, a great woman, is the same thing. Right? A witch and a great woman, all the same thing. It's names, it's labels, it's titles, right? And we are so afraid of somebody, if somebody used to call me a witch, I'd get so offended and so mad. And it was because I was still trying to hide so much. I'm like, call me whatever you want. I don't care what you call me. Just as long as you show up and you're not, and if you're afraid of me, then that's on you. You need to look into your own, you need to look into your own energy if you're afraid of me. If you're fearful of me and you're so fearful that you're trying, and I can tell you that I experienced this personally, that I have people in my life that have become so fearful of what I do that they go around trying to belittle me or trying to convince other people to not to be in my life or not to be around me, or because they're fearful that what they see in me is what they see in themselves. And sometimes that's family. Just saying. I won't take it any further than that. Just saying. Yes, it's a big freaking compliment. Yes, I love it. I actually have a t-shirt. That I wear, and it's called Witch, and it says woman in total control of her life. And that's what it says. Woman in control of her life. That's the acronym that goes with the witch. Woman in control of her life. And so let's see what the cards give us. And if you can see, the card that I'm showing you in my hand looks very different from the card that's in the picture, then that's because they're evolving. Right now they're becoming their real truth. We are still working on these. These are beta decks. And so our validation card is the wisdom of the elder. And this wisdom of the elder, I'm bringing the card up. You have seen, if you've been following along, she was 12. And you would think when you first sometimes look at the card, you want to look at the big wisdom of the elder. You want to look at the elder. And you want to think that, that card is pointing out that I'm the wisdom of the elder. And it's like, nope, go small. Look beyond the big picture. Look beyond the big woman. The wisdom of, this is Nugimi. And Nugimi is grandmother. And so the grandmother in Mi'kmaq is like, and so the wisdom. And so she is my ancestral link. And I always say, well, my grandmother guides me. I'm not the wisdom that my grandmother had. I don't have that. I haven't been up on earth. I'm still that little small. So it's like when you pick that card, she's actually a maiden card. She's way back. She's still learning. She has moments when ego gets in the way, when she thinks, I got this all figured out. And then life knocks you down again. And you're like, nope, don't know nothing. And so when you can live from the link, my ancestors, yes. And so my ancestors, Pat, are Mi'kmaq First Nations. I am Mi'kmaq, Micmac, some people like to call it. That's, it depends. You can call it what you want, Micmac, Mi'kmaq, from Newfoundland and from Nova Scotia, those areas. That's my family. And all on my, right. So when we look at the wisdom of the elder card, we have to go small. Look at the beautiful little one. Look at the beautiful little one. Go to the little one who's looking up with such awe, such admiration. Now, when we're looking with awe and admiration, making sure that it is of love. And so when we're in shadow self, when we're in that fear story, is we want what they have. And sometimes that light is so powerful that you want it in your hands, you want to grasp it, that you want to take, and you want to take what they have and you want to keep it. But it's not. It's about looking at it, admiring it, and just saying, I'm going to build my own life from this. I want my light to someday be as bright as this, but I don't want to be that light. I don't want to be my ancestors. I want to be me. And when you stop trying to be your ancestors, when you stop trying to replicate them, when you stop trying to be somebody else, when you stop trying to be the essence of everything that you admire in somebody else, but you say, well, I must have something of this inside of me. So the something that we have inside of us is what we allow to come to life. And when we allow it to come to life, when we allow us to unfold, we start to seek more wisdom and less knowledge. We stop the need to constantly be having to constantly be getting certifications and certified, and just trusting that I can learn and I can absorb by listening. And the more that we want to, it's like, oh, I now know everything I want to tell you. No, I know very little. I say I know probably at this stage in the game, maybe I know 5%, right? Maybe I know 5%. And by that, there's so much more to learn. So there's still, there's 95% of the world left to learn. So to be small, but when we're given our light, when we're given that, we're given the seed. We're given the seed. We are not powerful. We're not capable or big enough to be able to hold the whole light. We can't hold the whole light within us. We can't take that. And from our brain sense, from our knowledge sense, from our ego sense, from our fact that we are human, is that we wouldn't be able to be capable of holding the whole light of the God consciousness, not all of it, because we will want to claim it, we'll want to change it, we'll want to make it into something, we'll want to unfold it, but we're given ours. And we're given ours so that we can accept it. And then when we can move past our teenage or young adult stages, and we're like, I know more, I went to school, I got this all figured out, it would be the same thing as when I'd be training my hairstylist. I know it. I don't need you to tell me nothing else. You already told me once, but I'm showing you what I know. And I'm like, okay, I quit. You're on your own. When you mess up and you need me, then you'll come back, and then you're going to be willing to listen. Until we sometimes fall, we're not willing to listen, right? Because we want to advance so much farther. We want to grow up so fast. We want to be so mature. We want to be all of that. And it's because of admiration. It's because of we have such a love to be. But when that desire gets fused with a little bit of ego, the love becomes a love for the negative and not a love for the inspiration. It becomes that I want this so bad. So being able to always bring yourself back, always stay small, always stay knowing that there's so much for me to learn, so much to gain. Just because I start to live in my truth doesn't mean I know it all, right? And so that's when you start to allow now, accepting that I have a lot of room left in me to grow, a lot of room left in me to gain wisdom, a lot of room left in me to be able to listen even deeper, to explore deeper, to go deeper, to experience more, to research more, to want to know more. And the more that you want to know, but not to it's not about bringing the past back to life. It's about remembering and knowing more about this and that of the past so that we can be a change. And so this beautiful woman, you've never heard of that, Pat? Yeah, you'll have to research it. You'll have to do some research. Yep, you have to walk the walk. Exactly. There is no way around it. It's like that's the path, that's the journey. You don't get to jump ahead. And as much as we try to jump ahead, if we have some people get to jump ahead, like they jump ahead in because they push themselves so far, but eventually the insecurities, the lack of confidence, the childlike, the things that we didn't develop in the spiritual immaturity does start to peek through the cracks. And it peeks through the cracks in the ways of you see the crumbling because the foundation wasn't strong enough. So you see areas that start to crumble. And when you see that start to crumble, if you and yourself can feel the crumble, then you know who you are, like, hey, wait, I got to stop right here. I got to go back. I got to revisit this. I have to relook at this. It doesn't mean we have to go back and rehash everything or start over again. And people get mixed up in that. People think because we have a fall down is that we got to start all over again. No, you start from where you are. You don't drop back down. You've already been there. You don't need to go back there. You don't go back always and start over, because some people keep recycling, living it. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. Well, you got something of it, but you're not knowing you got something of it because you keep going back into it. Stop going back into it and stay where you are and think, what did I miss there? What did I miss? Good morning, Mel. Happy birthday, Mel. It's Mel Miller's birthday today. What did I miss? What did I need to? And so this is where the wisdom comes in. We ask our spirit guides, we ask our guardians, we ask the God consciousness, we ask source, whatever you call it, we ask creator, what is it that I'm missing? Can you guide me to the areas that feel like they are not being powered on the beauty of love? And that's when you start to be able to make that change. So our next card, and this is also a card that you would have seen, and this one is the unseen wound, and we're going to bring up the unseen wound, but we're going to have to drop down. We'll drop down that card, and we're going to bring up this card. And this will be showing the stream. Hold on, she's got to load. And so this is the unseen wound. This is the beautiful unseen wound. And I love that I'm bringing him up on screen now, because you can see every little detail. You can see all the beauty in there. And so when I first pulled this card, I said, there's a little wound on her shoulder. And you can see that wound, but you got to look real deep. Is she looking at where that wound came from? And that wound, something from the past that she and that is a reminder, or is she looking at the child? So many meaning to this card. When I designed this card, we called her the warrior. And the warrior, we wear that armor, we have that sword in our hands until we're willing to put it down. Until we're willing to stop allowing ourselves to cause our own harm, our own hurt. And when we take out the daggers and the swords of other people's words and thoughts, when we start to remove that from us. And so as I look at her, and you can see her looking down and the little one looking up, such admiration. There's such love when we can let go of our inner child stories. When we can move beyond, through the eyes of who we are today. If we can look into the eyes of our childhood stories and from the eyes of who we are today, and we can see that we've seen all of our stories, or we remember our childhood stories from the eyes of a child. So every childhood story is remembered from the eyes of a child. And then we think of all the wounds that we can't see, all the things that we just try to push away, suppress. And she's so full of unseen wounds, right? There's so many things that we can't see. But she's beautifully wearing cloak and clothing over it, not armor. She's taken off the armor. She's taking all of that off. She's wearing her beauty. She's showing her beauty. Her flowers are blooming. They are blossoming, which means that she is moving beyond the betrayal, the hurt, the resentments, all of those stories. And the little yellow is her reason why. The empowerment of that beautiful little girl, the little one inside of us, is the why. When we feel that anxiety, we feel that we're just so struggling, she's reminding us from way back. She's screaming at us, let me go. Let go of the stories. Let go of the childhood. And we let go of it by acknowledging it, by recognizing it, by doing those things that we know to be true, right? I wish I could remember some of my childhood, but I really don't. Sometimes, Pat, and I always tell people this when I'm teaching, and especially in my master classes, when I'm teaching in the master classes, what I teach is that, you remember when you're ready to deal with them sometimes. And some things you don't remember because it's not of importance for you to remember. Because if you started to remember, you would start to take the story and let it become a part of you. And so sometimes there's stories that I have that when I started to do somatic body healing work, when I was doing that training, I start to recognize things that start to come up and I'm like, oh, that's why I behave that way. That's why I respond that way. That's why I'm so protective. That's why I'm so defensive. Oh, and so I would start to see the 3-year-old. And in the healing of the 3-year-old, and when I was told, oh, you can face her, you can see all the story. And I was so to that point, and I'm like, I don't need to call anybody else out. I don't need to shame anybody. Everybody knows their role, their part in this. I need to set her free. And so it's the whole Ho'oponopono that we do is I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I sense you. I set you free. And it's so amazing, that journey, because all we've ever wanted, all that little one that's looking up ever wanted was to be acknowledged, to be acknowledged. So what you're doing is you are acknowledging yourself. You're giving yourself the attention, the love that you need. When you're willing to deal with those things, when you're willing to see this and to know, all's being asked is not to remember it all, is to be willing to give yourself the attention, the love, the acceptance that you've always been seeking and searching. And when we do that, all of those unseen wounds start to heal. And this is Thekla. And so see the beautiful blossoming flowers. And then on the swords, you can see the roses are not fully open. Is that she realizes that those moments are still there, that she can still have a sharp word. Our tongue can be such a sharp object, and our tongue can be the smallest but most powerful thing that can cause the most harm. It's amazing what the tongue can do, right? And she knows that she's still having probably a moment. But she knows where it comes from. When you recognize where it comes from, when you start to recognize those things, you're awake and aware to it. You catch yourself more in the moment before you dab the daggers in. So when you get ready to start to reel out how somebody else is the problem, or you start to get angry and you start to self-sabotage yourself, you catch yourself and you go, not today. No, that's not right. Could be mid-sentence and I'm like, wait, that's not right. Sorry. Let me rephrase that. Let me think this through. Let me think my words before I react and respond because an old emotional trigger has just been triggered. Let's calm the trigger and now let me respond. And that's as those roses will start to bloom, as they start to blossom. And that whole red really is, the red rose represents that grandmother. And the roses also represent Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Saint Anne, all divine energy, divine feminine energy. And so it really truly ties into there. And if you see her beautiful dress and the hue of the lilac-y, the purpley bluey kind of color, the tone that's to that. And so it's like that whole sense of peace. She's made peace with her past. She's accepted. It is what it is. You can't fix the past through anyone else. You can't fix your past history through your children. You can't create everything you did not become by trying to force your children, or by giving them more reason to be in an unhealthy sense, by creating them to be afraid of the world, is not going to fix anything. It's not going to save them from anything. And so when we accept those things, so the card has so many meanings. What she means for you, how the cards feel for you when you first pick up the cards, that's what I want you to write through. Write through those for yourself today. Write through those messages and let yourself, start journaling through some of this. As these cards come out, it's an opportunity for you to be working with me, working with the cards, working through and answer your own questions to these. What do these cards bring up for you? What is it you're feeling by witnessing these cards, by observing these cards, by sitting in the energy? What do you feel? And so being able to question yourself on the cards. And then I'm just being told to give one more card. And I don't know why one more card, but I'm going to trust that. I'm going to trust that. One more card. Let's see. Ha. I love this. I love how this goes. Okay. Here's our one more card. And this is Vidoma. And Vidoma has a real little Vidoma has a lot of character. She has a lot of personality. She has a lot of magic to her. This is the soul connection. And when you start to connect to your soul connection, there's a little bit of like a childlike, there's a little bit of like baboon, there's a little bit of energy, there's a little bit of sassy, there's a little bit of everything. But there's a lot of power, there's a lot of magic energy, there's a lot of, and magic is the light of God consciousness. It's the light of love. It's what we power through. And there's a lot of guidance there. There's a lot of spirit in that card. And that spirit connection. And I always chuckle when people say, I'm so afraid of ghost. I'm afraid of ghost. So you're afraid of your past. You're afraid your past is going to come forward. You're fearful of your past. If you're afraid of ghost, you're afraid of you. Because ghost is spirit. Spirit is inside of you. We all have the spirit. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience. So when we leave this earth, we leave the human body. It's like we leave the meat suit. We leave the human body, but the spirit just returns. So the spirit is always alive. So that same spirit that you're afraid of, that you see an image of a spirit in your house, that you're able to see those, they're all alive. And so you are fearful of your own self. You're fearful of your past. You're fearful that all the stories that you've told are going to are going to come crumbling, that you're going to fall, that everything you're going to be exposed, that your truth will come out, or everything that you suppressed, everything that we've buried underneath the carpet might come up. And that was, some of the big fears is that, oh my God, if she starts writing, what if they tell all these secrets? What if all this comes out? They're not really that secret because you wear them all. You wear them in your attitude. You wear them in how you're showing up. You wear them in that always trying to chase down to convince people. When people are like, you get family members or people in your life that are always trying to chase down, trying to make sure the truth never gets out or a secret never gets out, and they're like, oh my God, don't listen, don't listen, don't listen. Why not listen? You might get a new perspective if you listen, right? And so her globe, her ball, her crystal ball that's there. And so that insight that's in that crystal ball, and you notice she hasn't touched it. She's just near it. And that sense of what is in the crystal ball. What is that future holding for me? And when people call me fortune teller, I used to get so offended. I'm saying, stop calling me a fortune teller. That just seems so, and I'm like, see, another word that I had tied associations to that I had to release in trigger words, right? Words trigger you. And so I'm like, yeah, I do. What I do is I give you the tools and the keys that you can create your fortunes by finding the treasures right now. If you find your treasures in you, then you can create a beautiful future, because there's a beautiful future in there. There's things that are waiting for us, but there's this and that waiting for us. There's paths of each direction, because the one thing that gets to decide that is the free will. It's that free will choice, right? So when you become crystal clear, and that's what the ball represents, when you become crystal clear in who you are, the life that you're here to live will unfold. And then you're willing to be more vulnerable, more exposed. And it's not all about wearing less clothes, but it is taking it all off by letting yourself be more connected. And when you do, you start to be able to live in such magic little beauty, right? Kim, wow, I so know the sword tongue when trigger happens. Thank you for that message. You're so welcome, Kim. Yes, and it's true. That tongue can be and those are that's harmful. That's harmful. And so the soul connections, when you're done with that. And so if you see the curtains in the back, that's our veils. And we walk through veils through this journey of life, through the awakening. You go through veils. And as you awaken into new versions of you, there's veils, right? An upside down ball in the ball. Yeah. Yes. Right. Exactly. Yes. And so there's so many, if you look and you see, and then you see all the little dots on here. So all the little dots are like cosmic eggs. They're all like, they're orbs, right? They're orbs of energy. So there's the orbs of energy there is that, and then you see the one human looking form. So when spirit wants us to know who they are and they want us to know them, they give us the holographic view of a human image. Most show me like gray paper cutout dolls when it's just spirit walking around me, because you're always surrounded by energy, by spirit. And so that little orb, but it also represents that cosmic egg. When we take ourselves in, when we go inward and we make that spiritual connection, and then we let so many other things die, let so many other things fall away, and then we start to allow ourselves to open, to come out. So it's like the curtain call. When the curtain goes back and you're standing there and you're exposed, what are you going to do in that moment? How are you going to show up in that moment? How do you want to present yourself? How do you want to be seen in that moment? Right? And so when you recreate from love, of not a desire to perfect or to be somebody specific, who you truly are meant to be will shine through. And that comes when we just start allowing. And so sometimes we say, oh, I'm so afraid of this, or I'm so afraid of that. You're afraid of the unknown. And so when you start to speak truth, when you speak truth, you start to be honest with yourself. What you're afraid of is the unknown. We live in that one-dimensional view of life, and we believe the world is happening to us, and that we are this and everything is happening right here, because you're living in matter. You're living by matter. You're living by the material world. And when you live that, you believe matter is creating your life and creating everything that's going to fulfill you, you truly don't recognize the power of energy, and that you're all energy. And you're no different than that energy that's out there. You're no different than that spirit that's standing up looking at you, or that ghost that you're afraid of. You're afraid of the past. You're afraid of the unknown. And that's what we're truly afraid of. And so when we can truly tip it upside down, when we can empty it all out and we can clear it all out, we can walk the journey in a much more confident way, because we're not allowing our fears of the past to stand in our way. It's like we're allowing ourselves to become crystal clear. I know what I'm looking at. So when I'm in a session, when I'm working, and people try to convince me, no, I don't think, maybe it's not that person. Maybe it's not this. Maybe it's not that. I don't remember them that way. I don't. And I'm like, no, no, I'm not letting what you want to hear change the story, because that's you then wanting a certain story. And it's the same thing, excuse me, after you give a session or you give a reading, everything that is repeated after that is your own version of your story, your own version of what you thought you heard, right? And so it's the same thing of when we repeat other people's words. You're repeating your words. And so what I always say is, the way I remember this, or the way I think I remember this. And so the way that it was told to me, or the way that I think it was told to me. And so then you start to expand with the possibility that there's could be things in there that may change. And so soul connection means that it's not going to be done perfectly. Your life's not going to go perfect. It's not going to go, it's not all going to fall into this perfect little world because you decide to awaken and to become more aware. And that now it's like, oh, everyone else got to become this and everyone else better become perfect. No, the world will stay imperfect, and you will still be imperfect. You're just more willing to correct your course, to correct your stories, to correct your past, but not to keep trying to correct yourself to be able to fit in certain places, to be that image, to correct your course, to return to walking the path that was destined way before we arrived, to return to live from spirit, to allow spirit to guide us, to allow kindness, compassion, integrity, dignity, all of those things that are the virtuous life, find contentment and peace to guide our way. And that's what changes for us. I hope these cards resonate with you. And like I said, how it, sit with the cards, sit with how this makes you feel today, and to just um, write it through. Just pick up a pen, automatic write it. Just let your thoughts come out onto paper. It doesn't matter if they make sense. It doesn't matter what they are. Just let them out. And when you let them out, it's so amazing to set yourself free. It's the beginning of being able to set yourself free. Let it go. Let it go in paper. Let it go. And then you can burn it. You can keep it, whatever you want. Um, but just sit with the pen. So, yes. And so it's tough sometimes because you're still, when you bring it home to you, what is it I'm still holding on to, right? What is it? What are the things that I'm still holding on to? What am I not clear? What am I not clear on about me, right? What is it am I, and so this is another thing. One last thing, and it's because Mel's question here this just popped in my head. So Mel, this is probably for you. When we get so laser focused on a dream life and what we want our dream to be, is that when that can be like almost same thing as an obsession. When we get so focused on creating the dream and setting goals and trying to find our way to the dream, we miss the opportunity to live in the moment of just accepting whatever else comes along as an experience towards the dreams. So sometimes it's about knowing you have a dream, knowing you have a big dream, but dream of your day. Dream of your day being a good day. Dream of your day being, prosperous. Dream of your day being eventful. Dream of your day. And so that you start to live in the small dreams, start to live in the moment instead of waiting for the future to come in. It's like you start living in finding the little, I dream of this day being such a good day. I dream of this being the best birthday ever. I dream of, right? And so it's like, and so what you're doing is you're actually you change that then word to, I know my day is going to be a good day. I know I'm going to have beautiful things. Don't focus on letting go. Stop focusing on letting go. Stop focusing on the big dream. Stop focusing on the things that you want to see happen, because that's actually giving energy towards that you don't have it, and it's attracting more of everything we don't want. Bring the focus into right now in the present moment of what I have the opportunity to have a good morning. I have the opportunity in this moment to just be able to enjoy this moment, and let that flow, and let that flow. You're welcome, Kim. Tracy, wow, those are awesome. Your cards are amazing. Your guidance never ceased to amaze me. Thank you for your wisdom. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, and I have to say, I mean, my heart is like these cards just light up so much. And the artist Amelia Richard, she's never she's never built oracle cards, tarot cards. She's never painted cards. She just paints, and not just, she paints and does computer graphic work for on canvas and for things like that. She's never ever helped do a deck of cards. So I've never created a deck. She's never painted a deck. And so together, this is what unfolded. And it's still unfolding. They're not even gone to publishing yet. We don't even have the money for them to go to publishing yet. Like there's so many things. So there's a big dream still there. They're coming, they're on their way, and I know it's all on its way. So I'm living in the moment of the cards, Mel. I'm living in the moment of the magic. And so you watch them changing every day. So they're already there. Those cards are taking themselves to publishing. Those cards are taking themselves out into the world. Those cards, I'm the vessel. And so you're the vessel of the energy of the day. And so allowing that to go through, right? And so this is the beauty of it. And yes, she was the beauty, right? She was given a beautiful opportunity to come to life. Yes. And it was like, and it's Lisa's daughter is the artist. And she's young. So, and such wisdom came through her, through channeling through these, that you swear that an old wise soul, which was the channel, created these cards. These are coming to life because this is what's meant to be, right? And so by allowing this, I never went out and said, oh my God, I got to get a deck of cards made. This has been a few years in the process. So the original of this card started when I was young. When I was a little girl, I used to draw on paper shapes of hourglass figures. Hourglass figures. 2 years ago, I was walking downstairs and I heard, "You're creating the goddess cards." Hourglass figures. And I walked down and I picked up my sketchbook and I realized that I was already starting to draw shapes, silhouettes of hourglass figures. I was already creating the cards when I was little. This was already in the works. The dream was already happening. I've never ever in my life ever said, "Oh, I need to find my purpose." That was never a statement that's ever been in my life. So when I start to hear that, I'm like, I don't understand that. And so I understand it more for people now, but I was always living with just doing, just doing, just doing. I've had to come into the human world and, some of these things I've had to kind of evolve into. And and so this was created that long ago. So it's not about pushing, it's about allowing. It's about allowing your life to unfold. Right? Yes, she's amazing, just like her mom. Such talent. It's a very creative family. And so together, such creativity and such a beautiful young soul to help create this, to bring it to life. It's just like we learn so much from our youth, and our youth are much wiser than what we think they are sometimes if we allow them to be their creative self, if we allow them to unfold their own beauty. And so there's such beauty in this world and such beauty to be seen. And my hope, my dream, my desire is that these cards, when they land into the hands of everybody, is that everyone can be inspired to live their own story in their own lives, to move beyond the shadow, to allow their truth to walk before. And I always say what I do is I allow all versions of me to walk through my truth, to walk through my true self with love. Allow all versions of you to walk through your true self with love. I don't run from me. I don't hide from me. I don't deny myself the moments, the pain moments, the hurt moments. I don't deny those. Accept those. And when you accept it, you can also then have the opportunity to reject it. That's not for me. This is for me. So I hope that all helps you today and it resonates with you. Thank you for sticking with me in the morning sessions. I so admire this, that people actually come and spend the time with me. And thank you for staying from beginning to end. That's huge in the book, the way that I'm writing. If I had just stayed till the end. I'm so thankful I stayed till the end. That's one of the main parts of the whole book. I'm so thankful I stayed till the end. I'm still so thankful that I decided that God showed me that it was so important for me to stay here, to stay on earth, to stay till the end of that, to be a part of this, to be able to stay. I'm so thankful I stayed to see the ending, to be able to know that every day I'm getting, creating a new story that comes to an end. Every day an ending happens. I'm so thankful I stayed till the end. And that's what I always tell myself. So because I stayed till the end, now I have an opportunity for a new beginning, to walk towards something new. So let these cards resonate with you. Let them into your heart today and enjoy. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Much love to you all. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.